Welcome to our webinar on the challenges of digital innovation, hosted by First Solution at hgkc. My name is Tom Henson. I'm the Managing Director of First Solution. We're a managed services provider in Cheltenham, servicing customers across the UK, helping them with their digital innovation challenges, as well as providing IT support and solutions.
I'm Chris Shanks, Head of Technology at First Digital, and it's my role to help businesses identify those challenges of digital innovation and overcome them with hopefully quite innovative solutions.
And I'm Peter Quintana from hgkc. We're a management consultancy. We work with predominantly small business owners and leaders, helping them through their challenges to achieve their growth ambitions. One of the words that's been used, probably overused over the last 18 months is digital transformation. So I'd like to ask you guys first, what do you mean by digital transformation?
I mean, the word digital transformation is a bit of a swear word really in the office. It's become overused and not necessarily related back to benefits of the business. But I think underneath that is really there's been a change and a shift in technology that is bringing an ability to businesses that wasn't there previously to use technology, to leverage technology to allow them to work smarter, more efficiently, grow without adding so many staff, become more profitable, provide better services to customers, innovate their own products and offerings to customers.
Yeah, and I think the issue I have with the term digital transformation, Peter, is it comes from a previous experience and vision of people thinking that computers and robots are going to take away their jobs.
It was ever thus, I think.
Absolutely. You know, warehousing now can be a plethora of technology usages to be more efficient, but still relies on people. So I think if you think back to people saying they would digitally transform warehousing and manufacturing, they often assumed that it would be more robots, less people, and I think that's where the hesitance comes, and it can mean anything. And I think when we talk about digital transformation, we like to tend to lean on more of innovation to fix a problem and innovative solutions. And so I guess that really comes down to, much like how do you define digital transformation, how do you define innovation?
Well, I think for us, innovation is something new that creates value.
Yes.
It's not, and that it broadens the scope of innovation beyond the realms just of technology. But I mean, we're going to be talking about digital here, but for us, and it's the creation of value.
Yes.
If it hasn't created value, it's not an innovation; it's an idea. I think that's quite an interesting distinction.
Do you think that the creation of value can be more than just financial? It could be value within the workforce, it could be value in customer service or how your business appears on the outside, rather than kind of the go-to metric that everyone uses, which is cash flow, return on investment, profitability.
I think absolutely. I think you can innovate to improve your reputation.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can innovate across all realms, all aspects of business. The way you recruit, the way you meet, the way you talk to each other, everything can be innovated, and we've seen an awful lot of that over the last year and a half. We think it's helpful to think about innovation across three horizons. Horizon 1 is today's business, things that you're doing now. These would be innovations that might improve or extend the revenue or the profitability of a product or service that you're delivering. Might be improving processes. Typically these are delivered over the next 18 months or so. Horizon 2 is about nurturing emerging businesses, emerging products or services, taking what you already have extending it into new areas of revenue driving activity. This could be launching new products, expanding your business geographically or into new markets, and these typically are delivered over the next 1 to 3 years. Horizon 3, this is creating genuinely new business. So introducing entirely new elements to your business that don't exist today. These could include research projects, pilot programs, or entirely new revenue lines, and often will be things that are aimed at disrupting your sector. And these are then delivered over a longer period of time. What's important to bear in mind here is that the people involved in these different types of innovation will be different people in your organisation. Horizon 1 will typically be delivered by those people who are close to the front line of your business now, the operational people, the sales people, the service people. Whereas the Horizon 3 are likely to be your blue sky thinkers, your business visionaries, your real digital innovators, the ones that are out there looking for genuinely new things to do. And not only do you want to be thinking about who's the best person or the best team of people to engage in these different horizons of innovation, you should also think about the processes for identifying, evaluating, supporting, and then delivering ideas over these horizons as well. So Horizon 1 innovation is likely to be light touch evaluation, ideas that can be implemented very quickly, whereas Horizon 3 innovation is likely to be evaluated through a number of different gateways with a number of different criteria.
And if you look in the worksheet, as I said, there is a table about the 3 horizons, and we're really keen that you get some value out of today and something that's actionable and that you can take back to the business if you're watching this webinar. So if you open up this worksheet and start to look at the table and fill in some of the sections underneath each of those horizons, and hopefully during the course of the conversation today, you'll get an idea of the kind of people that might be able to help you with that if you're not sure yourself, and some of the things that fall under those different categories.
I think a good place to start might be maybe an example of each horizon. So if you were to take our business, Tom, Horizon 1 might be that we are trying to become more automated as a business, so that we capture information more accurately, I suppose.
Yeah.
Reducing the amount of paperwork, reducing the number of mistakes or conversations so that we add value to the customers. Would we say Horizon 2 might be changing some software?
Yeah, so Horizon 2 might be introducing a new product or service. So at the moment we're heavily focused on Microsoft as a platform, but maybe if we're going to introduce Amazon or Google as a platform alongside Microsoft, that is not evolving what we're already doing and doing other things with Microsoft. That's bringing in a new product line, a new service completely. So that'd be Horizon 2.
Could also be new developments in cyber.
Absolutely.
That's something that's moving on a regular basis, and whilst you would have Horizon 1 innovation there, a lot of that is about Horizon 2 innovation.
Yep.
So I think new developments there would classify under that.
Yeah, that's a good example. There's a lot that's going on within Horizon 1 within cyber because it's always evolving and changing. Within Horizon 2, there's often new products and services, and there's things that we are building ourselves here, which we're bringing to the market over the next 12 months. But then there are things where we partner with people, but we could maybe choose to bring those in-house. So I'm thinking of, for example, of ISO compliance is something that we don't currently do as a technology company, but actually we're moving quickly towards a position. We already advise and guide people through the process. But that might actually become an offering, and that would be more of a Horizon 3 thing 2 or 3 years down the line.
I mean, to me, the ultimate Horizon 3 idea would be a ticketless help desk.
Wow.
Why not rip up the rule book and blue sky thinking, use technology to challenge how people think a support desk would be?
Yeah, and we've seen that kind of started really. We have. It is Horizon 3 to think that way, and I think that's the thing about you kind of having this down on paper, putting this down on paper, you start to think in a slightly different way and think what the art of the possible, and actually sometimes you realise the art of the possible is not that far away.
Yeah, I mean for us, Horizon 1, well, certainly over the last 18 months, Horizon 1 has been using a lot of these remote communication technologies. So we thought before lockdown that we could only deliver face-to-face with our clients, and we don't do that anymore. That doesn't mean we won't go back to doing that. We'll go back to some hybrid way, but we use tools like Mural, Teams for communications now, which we hadn't really explored beforehand. Horizon 2 for us typically is new products that we come across that aren't necessarily ours. So I'm at the moment researching something called a market opportunity navigator. This is one of those maps that sits around business model canvas and is very good for businesses that are looking for new market opportunities and how to identify them, evaluate them, and then put what they call an agile focused plan strategy to be able to act on them. So that's, for us, will be Horizon 2, new products and services that aren't necessarily ours but are out there that we discover as part of the research that we do. And then Horizon 3 will be looking at completely new ways of interacting with clients. There's a lot in the consultancy world about how do we share knowledge, how do we provide knowledge for clients without having to engage them and ask them to pay for that knowledge. Because the role of the consultant obviously often is interpreting what somebody else has done and providing it back in a training or a mentoring way. And there are firms out there that will make a lot of money from doing that. So wouldn't it be great if you could provide a repository that allowed people almost to find what they need? There's always a diagnostic and problem identification phase for work, but wouldn't it be great if I could go to a client and have a conversation with them and say, okay, these are the things you need, jump into our repository, you'll find them in there. If you need help with implementing, that's different, then you can buy my time. That to me, I think, will be quite disruptive in the consultancy sector. To me, that would be around Horizon 3.
And so I think it's probably, using the examples we've just been through, a really good place to start is to think about existing projects. So things that naturally we have going on, things that you might have going on in your own business that you're aware of. Start to understand the impact of those projects, start to classify them into the 3 horizons, because as Peter alluded to, each one needs different people involved, maybe looked at in a different way, has different measures of success that are all detailed in the table. When working with a company, we will always look to identify 3 critical roles of innovation, and we found that by knowing who these people or collection of people are, it can have a dramatic effect on the success of the innovation projects and ideas that we work with. The first person we would look to find is someone we like to call the digital innovator. Now, this person is perhaps the most important of the 3 because they are the person that is going to be the champion of the innovation and ideas throughout the business. It's that person that is the go-to in the office to organise an event, a project, a task, someone that is happy to take ownership of that and really wants to see it from start to end and see it succeed, but knows that it might fail along the way. It's maybe someone that has a better relationship with most of the staff or the office, so they're comfortable having conversations and trying to get people's opinions and feedback. They would want to champion change and work with us as consultants to see that happen, and they tend to be the kind of guiding light of innovation throughout the business and really become the go-to person that we would work with. Secondly, we would look to identify someone as the business visionary. Now, this individual perhaps has more experience and has been in the sector a bit longer, maybe the business owner or someone in senior management, and this individual has an idea of where their business and where the sector may be in the next 3 to 5 years. What are the big challenging events that are coming up, and how do they feel they need to adopt their ways of working to meet not only the environment but also the customer needs in their sector? They help define the culture of the business. They are the ones that you may refer to in times of need and guidance. And we work with them because without the business visionary being involved and being on board with the change and innovation, you will find that you may struggle, come up against walls and challenges that you didn't expect. And so they really need to be there to support the digital innovator in their journey. Lastly, we would look at identifying people or individuals we call technology traditionalists. So these people are often have been with the business maybe longer than others. They like the way things are done at the moment. They've seen successes or failures happen before and are hesitant to change. They may have the mantra of, if it isn't broken, why fix it? And this often comes down to perhaps a lack of understanding, maybe a lack of desire to change, maybe a fear that change may impact negatively on that person, or the way they work, or the business that they work for. But ultimately, these people are fundamental and crucial to work with because they often have some very good ideas and objections. They can help bring the rest of the traditionalists on board, and they, once onboarded with the journey, can become very powerful people in this process.
In the worksheet, there's a section again on the different personality types that we've just been talking about there. We've done a bit of a recap on some of the key traits to look for in those individuals, and it's definitely worth having a think about who falls under those different categories and start to think about who in your business you might be able to turn to and bring into those roles to begin you on this journey of digital innovation.
And I think once you've identified those people, I think we're getting to the point of starting to understand how the culture of those people working together. We've talked a lot about how the business visionary defines the culture. Is it that we are innovating for profit or for customer service or appearance? And I think that they, along with the digital innovator and the traditionalists, form what we would call a committee or a working group of people that can bring the culture in. I think culture needs to be openly discussed. I don't think it can be a taboo to understand the working culture of a business and how you can encourage a more positive, open, safe, innovative culture.
I mean, we define an innovation culture as an environment where ideas flourish, where employees feel their voices are heard, their impact is felt, and that they can make a mark. And that takes time to build that kind of, to develop that kind of culture. We often talk to our clients about innovation behaviours. So what are the behaviours that you can encourage? Because culture is behaviours and values, effectively. And what are the values of the organisation? What are the behaviours that support those values? So if you want to be an innovative business, you've got to be thinking about what behaviours do you want to encourage in your organisation. And there are 5 that we talk regularly to our clients about. It's curiosity, so consistently searching for different and better ways to do things. Customer obsession, so it means what it says on the tin, constantly what's in it for the customer, how do we better serve our customers, what are the roles that our customers are performing and how can we help them to do that better. Collaboration, so one of you already mentioned about collaborating outside the organisation, but collaborating inside and outside the organisation, absolutely vital. It's a good way of bringing in new ideas. Adeptness in ambiguity, there is no certainty ever, but we are living in the most uncertain of times right now.
Yes.
But that adeptness in ambiguity, this comes back to fear of change. A lot of people don't like change because they don't know what's coming. In reality, you know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen this afternoon, let alone in the next year or 2 years or 10 years. So being comfortable in that environment, and that's hard, that really is hard. And then empowerment, so we've talked about taking away fear of failure, encouraging people to come up with ideas and test them. There are lots of organisations that are quite well known that have got to Wednesday is your innovation day. You all sit down together and just come up with all ideas. 3M are famous for this, and Google are famous for this. But look at what they've achieved with that kind of approach. It's this idea of empowerment. Now, for leaders and managers in the business, that can be quite threatening. If I'm running a business and my employees are all empowered to go away and do stuff, I'm thinking, whoa, what's that? What's happening to our revenues here?
Do people bring in the half day to work on any other project they wanted?
Yeah, I think it's Friday afternoons or something every week. You just do what you want, work on your projects. I think that's really healthy. You've got to have a high level of trust in your organisation, in your people, but actually your people have also got to have a high level of trust in you as an organisation to be able to say, I've got this great idea, I want to try it. Can I try it? Just go and do it, just get on with it, and I think that's really important too, that there's a culture that encourages those behaviours, those 5 behaviours in particular.
So Peter, you've just told us about the 5 behaviours of innovation that are curiosity, customer obsession, collaboration, adeptness in ambiguity, and empowerment. And I think, although knowing those behaviours and being able to identify them, changing a culture is probably the most challenging part of innovation, because we often, as consultants, will come in to offer ideas, to offer areas of innovation, but what we're seeking is for those ideas to ultimately come from within a business. So how do you go about starting to address and change a culture?
Yeah, at the end of the day, you have to change behaviours. Culture is a combination of values and behaviours in an organisation, and they are immensely difficult to change. So, assuming your values are reasonable in an organisation, then it's about understanding ways to encourage these 5 behaviours in particular, and we talk about beans. It's easy to remember, which is why it's such a great acronym: behaviour enablers, artifacts and nudges. So behaviour enablers are things that you would do that help encourage those new behaviours. So for example, with customer obsession, for example, you could, every time you have a meeting, leave 1 chair empty around the table, because that's the chair that the customer sits in. So you then say, well, the customer is the most important person in this room. So what does the customer think about this idea? So it's a great way of encouraging customer obsession as a behaviour. Artifacts things are things that reward people for behaving in certain ways, and there are myriads of ways you can do
a reward scheme.
Yeah, like a reward scheme. But also, I've known organisations that will celebrate success with beer and failure with champagne. But that sends a fantastic message, doesn't it? Because we were talking about fear of failure. If you start rewarding people who failed because they tested something, they tried something, and you give them such a good reward, such a distinction from rewarding success, then people will be encouraged to come up with more ideas.
Yes.
It will encourage curiosity. So it's a great artifact. And then nudges. Nudges are just things to encourage people to do stuff. I mean, I wear a Fitbit. Every hour, this buzzes on my wrist. That's a nudge. I need to get up, and
Go for a walk,
or move, or something like that. It's a great nudge, and there are lots of different ways you can bring nudges into an organisation, just to remind people that curiosity is good, that customer obsession is good. So we run workshops with our clients to help them to identify beans that will encourage curiosity or customer obsession or adeptness in ambiguity. And they're not easy to come up with. They've got to be hung on something. So typically we would try to hang them on a purpose statement or a set of values. But we'd also encourage our clients to come up with their own definitions for these behaviours. Because it's all very well me saying, an innovation behaviour is curiosity. But what do you mean by that? So you define that, and then you look for ways to encourage it and reward people for being curious. Yeah. So it's really hard. This takes effort, but the reward for it is phenomenal. Yeah. Because that means when you guys come in with the digital ideas, you've got a culture that is receptive and actually bringing ideas to you rather than relying you to bring ideas to them. And that must make a huge difference to you guys, wouldn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And I think just going through your ideas and your watch on your wrist, that I guess technology could be used to run through some of the beans, creating the nudges for customer obsession or curiosity. Even as a technology evangelist, I still don't know everything about technology. You never can. So I'm constantly curious about what can be done, but how can you empower people with technology? How can you be customer obsessed with technology? We'd like to hope that collaboration with technology should be easier now, but I would look at not just the ideas, but using the technology to bring them to life as well.
Yeah, I think this is where the interaction between those three roles that you were talking about before, the digital innovator, the business visionary, and the technology traditionalist, if they're also adept at these behaviours and they're encouraged to develop and live those behaviours as well, then those three will provide almost the guiding light for everybody else.
Yes.
They'll be the example that everybody sets. So you need a team, you need an evangelist team. And if you can identify those three characters, or the people that are in those roles, and then work first with them to get them to understand the concept of an innovation culture, the value of digital innovation generally, then you've got a real place to start, haven't you?
Absolutely. And again, there's a section in the worksheet to run through beans and to help you. It is, as Peter alluded to, it can be quite a challenge to come up with some of these things, and we can assist with that. We'll talk about that in a minute, but we do want you to try and come away from here with some ideas, and so we've done a bit of a summary of beans and hopefully some guidance that will allow you to start to come up with some of those behaviours that can encourage that digital innovation.
I guess to wrap this up, then we're going to be talking about this workshop that we've been thinking about potentially offering to organisations that want to explore digital innovation, I should say, and explore the idea of an innovation culture. So, do you want to talk a bit more about that thinking?
Yeah, I think we are very skilled at helping customers use technology, but the biggest challenge we face going into customers is the ideas, it's the culture of innovation, and that's where these things can really get slowed down and not progress as quickly as we can drive them forward with what we can do. So we've been working with hgkc to come up with a workshop, because these things do take time. It's not something that happens overnight. It's a significant change in a business behaviour, in the culture of a business. And hopefully you've got some value from the webinar today. Hopefully the worksheet has started those creative juices flowing. But really if you want to make this change and make it quickly, we can fast track that with a workshop. Normally for a kind of medium-sized company, a 2-day workshop. Would you like to talk a bit more about what that might look like, Peter?
Yeah, I think duration, a day, 2 days, depending on how many people are involved. But it begins with it begins with creating shared understanding of what we're talking about. So that's why we started today with definitions. So what do we mean by innovation? What do we mean by an innovation culture? Introducing the idea of beans behind those 5 behaviours, and then working with individuals to identify what the blockers for those behaviours. Because if they can identify the blockers for those behaviours, then they can start working on beans to encourage the behaviours. It's almost like a hackathon. You were talking about a hackathon earlier. It's almost like a hackathon for your culture. So how do you hack the culture in order to change it and develop it in the way that you want to develop it? So that's where we would start. And once you've got people enthused by this, then they will start to come up with their own ideas, their own definitions of what those behaviours mean to them, and their own ways of encouraging those behaviours. And coming back to the point I was making before, clearly when you're running a beans workshop, you need to have beans in it. So if people are coming up with great beans ideas, the ones that don't get them, then you kind of vote on which ones you want to adopt in the organisation. The ones that get accepted get rewarded. The ones that didn't get accepted get rewarded more, or in a different way, because that's encouraging. So you're bringing beans into the workshop itself to encourage people to come up with beans, and then they understand how they work then, because they are living them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the reason for our involvement with hgkc is because there's such a huge amount of potential open to business at the moment to use technology for digital innovation. And so we are part of those workshops, sitting side by side with hgkc, with yourselves, and I suppose opening up the art of the possible, looking at the ideas that are coming up and giving our view on how technology can be part of that transformation within the business, and maybe dropping in some ideas that hadn't been thought about, because people just aren't aware of what is possible with technology now, really at your fingertips.
And I think it links really closely when you were talking about the challenges of Beans and Behaviours to how we work with our digital business strategy. So understanding the objectives of a business, looking at the challenges of achieving those, and then coming up with solutions. Very much like understanding the behaviours that you'd like to empower people within your business, and then understanding the challenges and creating the beans to bring them to light and to bear some fruit.
Yeah, I think for us also we believe innovation is the lifeblood of organisation. We believe if businesses aren't innovating, then they're not just standing still, they're actually going backwards, because the rest of the world is going forward so quickly. So for our clients, we want them to be innovating, and we want them to be innovating right across the piece. But you guys bring in the digital know-how that we don't have, and I think that's why this is such a great collaboration outside the organisation. So we are living our own behaviours here, aren't we?
Absolutely. If you'd be interested in finding out more about the workshop, or just having a conversation about what either hgkc or First Solution can do to help you on your digital innovation journey, please reach out to us on the contact details below. On that note, I'd like to thank everyone for their time watching this webinar. I hope you have found it useful, and so please do get in touch if there's anything you'd like to ask.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
It's
Peter.
been really good to be here with you guys.
Thank you.